When you get rich, tell nobody. That might sound extreme, but it is one of the smartest money rules you can live by. Because the moment other people feel your money, your life changes. Not always in dramatic ways, usually in subtle ways. That is what makes it dangerous. The pressure gets in quietly. People start expecting more from you. They look at you differently. They talk to you differently. Sometimes they ask directly, sometimes they do not ask. They just assume. And once that starts happening, your money stops feeling like yours. It starts feeling socially exposed. That is a problem because wealth grows best in peace, not in performance, not in pressure, not in an environment where your income, your assets, and your progress are always visible to other people. In this video, I want to explain why keeping your wealth private is such a powerful move. Not because you should live in fear, not because money is shameful, but because visibility creates pressure. And pressure makes people do stupid things with money. The first reason you should stay quiet when money starts growing is this: attention changes behavior. A lot of people think they are immune to that. They are not. Once people know you are doing well, a strange thing happens. You stop making decisions in a clean, private space. Now there is an audience. Maybe not a literal one, but a social one. Friends, family, extended family, co-workers, old classmates, people online, people in your neighborhood. And once those people know you are doing better, some part of your decision making starts getting distorted. Now, maybe you feel pressure to look successful. Maybe you feel pressure to stay generous. Maybe you feel pressure to upgrade your lifestyle so your image matches what people think you earn. That is how money starts leaking quietly. This is why public wealth and private wealth are not the same thing. Public wealth is what people can see: the car, the clothes, the house, the trips, the visible signals. Private wealth is what actually matters: the assets, the margin, the optionality, the peace, the ability to say no, the ability to make decisions without financial panic. Those are very different things. And one of the easiest ways to stay privately wealthy is to avoid turning your money into public theater. That is where people get trapped. They start earning more, then they start signaling more. And then the signaling creates a lifestyle they have to keep feeding. That is not freedom. That is a performance with bills attached to it. The second reason to stay quiet is that money attracts requests. Sometimes fair ones, sometimes manipulative ones, sometimes emotional ones, sometimes pure nonsense. And once people know you have money, you become more likely to get pulled into other people's financial gravity. Now, let me be clear. Helping people is not the problem. The problem is unmanaged access. The problem is when other people begin to treat your discipline like their backup plan. That is where resentment starts. Because you worked for the margin, you built the breathing room, you delayed gratification, you made sacrifices. Then suddenly, someone else sees the result and feels entitled to the outcome. That gets messy fast. And even if no one says anything directly, the emotional pressure alone can be enough to distort your choices. You may spend to avoid looking selfish. You may give too much too quickly. You may rescue situations that are not yours to rescue. You may start carrying financial burdens just because other people now see you as the one who can. That is not a small thing. It can wreck years of progress. The third reason is more subtle. Silence protects focus. Wealth is easier to build when it is boring. That is a truth most people do not like. They want money to feel exciting, loud, visible, rewarding. But in real life, wealth often grows through repetition, consistent investing, careful spending, patient ownership. Long stretches where nothing looks impressive from the outside. That kind of progress needs protection because the more you expose it, the more likely you are to interrupt it. You tell people you are doing well. Now you want visible evidence. Now you want your life to look like the story. Now patience starts feeling too quiet. Now normal growth feels too slow. And that is when people start making flashy moves to prove that the money is real. That urge destroys more wealth than people admit. A lot of people do not go broke because they earn too little. They go broke because once money started growing, they needed everyone else to feel it too. That need is expensive, very expensive. The fourth reason is security. And I do not just mean physical security, I mean life security. Privacy is protection. The less people know about your finances, the fewer angles they have into your life, fewer opinions, fewer expectations, fewer assumptions, fewer comparisons, fewer unwanted conversations. That matters a lot because comparison is one of the fastest ways to damage a healthy money path. The moment people know you are doing well, they start measuring. Some will admire you, some will envy you, some will judge you, some will decide what you should be doing with your money. And none of that helps you. None of it grows your assets. None of it lowers your stress. None of it improves your judgment. It just adds noise. And rich people who stay rich tend to understand this. They do not feel the need to explain, display, or defend every sign of progress. They let the money do its work quietly. That is maturity. The fifth reason is that silence helps you tell the truth to yourself. This one matters a lot. When nobody is watching, it is easier to be honest. You can admit when you are ahead. You can admit when you are not. You can admit when a move was smart. You can admit when a move was dumb. But once your money becomes part of your identity in public, honesty gets harder. Now you have something to maintain. Now your image is involved. And when image gets involved, people do stupid financial things. They hold on to bad investments too long because they talk too confidently about them. They keep expensive lifestyles because too many people saw the upgrade. They avoid downsizing because it feels embarrassing. They spend to maintain the image of someone who is still winning. That is exactly why privacy matters. Privacy gives you room to correct course without humiliation. It gives you room to change your mind. It gives you room to make cleaner decisions. And clean decisions make money safer. Now, does this mean you should pretend to be broke forever? No, that is not the point. The point is not fake struggle. The point is discretion. There is a difference. You do not need to lie. You just do not need to announce. You do not need to underplay everything in a weird way. You just do not need to broadcast your progress. Let your life be solid. Let your finances be structured. Let your assets grow. Let your peace grow too. Quiet money is powerful because it has room to mature. Now, here is the part that some people will not like. Telling nobody does not only mean silence with strangers, sometimes it means silence with people close to you too. Because closeness does not always equal wisdom, and love does not always equal healthy financial boundaries. Some of the biggest money pressure does not come from outside. It comes from familiar voices, the people who know your story, the people who remember when you had less, the people who feel your growth emotionally. That is exactly why boundaries matter. If you do not protect your financial space, someone else will eventually try to occupy it. Maybe with a request, maybe with guilt, maybe with expectation, maybe with comparison, maybe with advice you never asked for. And once that starts, money becomes emotional territory. That is when clarity gets harder. So what should you actually do? First, stop using visible spending as proof of progress. That habit is poison. If your money is growing, let the evidence live in your net worth, not in your performance. Second, keep your numbers private. Income, savings, assets, investment growth, do not turn them into casual conversation unless there is a real reason. Third, build a life that looks calmer than your finances actually are. That is one of the best protections you can have. When your lifestyle stays grounded, your money gets room to grow. Fourth, decide in advance how you handle requests. Do not improvise every time. Improvised generosity gets expensive. Set principles, set boundaries, and stick to them. Fifth, remember that the goal of money is not attention, it is freedom. The more attention your money attracts, the less free it can become. That is the irony. People flash money to feel powerful, but a lot of the time, flashing money gives other people power over your financial decisions. That is backwards. Real wealth should make your life quieter, cleaner, stronger, not noisier, not more performative, not more socially expensive. Here's the main takeaway: when you get rich, tell nobody, or at least tell far fewer people than your ego wants to, because wealth grows better in privacy. It survives better in privacy, and it gives you more peace in privacy. You do not need applause to be wealthy. You need discipline. You need patience. You need boundaries. And you need enough self respect not to turn your progress into a show. That is one of the richest moves a person can make. Now, watch the next video on how to build an emergency fund.